Hello, and welcome to the College Sports Corner, the show where we talk about anything and everything in the world of college athletics. I'm your host, Isaac Ray, and with me, as always, my talented co-host, Caitlyn Edwards. Caitlyn, how are we doing today?
I'm doing great. Beautiful Tuesday.
Yeah, beautiful Tuesday in the Creek, and there was no shortage of action and things to talk about from this past weekend in college football. So let's take a look back. Starting off, Players of the Week, a lot of big performances. Who stood out the most to you?
To me, Trevor Lawrence from Clemson,
Yep.
number one team in the country.
Yep.
He passed 351 yards and 1 touchdown.
Yeah, no, Clemson rolled over Wake Forest just like I thought, we all thought they would. He looked good. Nothing crazy, knocked the rust off though. He did what he had to do. I think he looked great. For me, Sam Ehlinger, quarterback out of Texas. Texas got a 59-3 win over UTEP. Yeah, it's only UTEP, but still, when you pass for 5 touchdowns, 426 yards, on 25 of 33 passing with a QBR over 200, I got to give it to you, man. I don't care if you're playing anybody. When you put up those kinds of numbers, I got to give it to you. My player of the week, Sam Ehlinger. But with talking about these individual performances, as the season's getting more underway, there's more talk about the front runners for the Heisman Trophy, most coveted individual prize in college football. Who's your Heisman front runner right now?
I would say my front runner is Jalen Waddle from Alabama.
Okay.
He would be the first wide receiver since 1991 and the first non-quarterback winner since Derrick Henry in 2015. I think Waddle's a little overlooked because there's so much talent on Alabama.
Yeah.
But he has a lot to show, a lot to prove.
Yeah, no, absolutely. After losing some of the wide receiver depth at Alabama, Jalen Waddle's definitely stepping up. He's the number one target now for Alabama. And I think, if he can continue to put up big numbers when going against SEC opponents like Auburn, Georgia, Florida's, the Texas A&M's, if you can put up big numbers on those defenses, which I think he's capable of doing, I definitely think he should be in the consideration for winning the Heisman. For me, I went kind of vanilla with my pick. It's kind of obvious, Trevor Lawrence. He was your player of the week. I think he's going to be a player of the week for one of us in several weeks to come. He's by far the number one quarterback in the country, in my opinion, that's at least playing right now. He threw for 351 yards, like you said, in just an easy opener against Wake Forest. But I think he's got the most talent around him. I think he's got the best coach in the country with him. So I'm going with Trevor Lawrence to lift the Heisman Trophy at the end of the year.
Good pick. But like you said, there was so much football this past weekend. What were some big takeaways?
Yeah, for me, big takeaways, this year's going to be chaotic. I think that's something we knew going into it, but, even, with Virginia Tech having to cancel their game right before, just a few days before they were supposed to kick off. Just because you have a game scheduled for the weekend doesn't mean you're playing a game this weekend. So, with COVID and everything's still fluid. Everybody's still trying to figure out how things are going to work. You might have a player one week, but he might be in COVID protocol the next week, so you might not have him. So you got to be very adaptable for that. So that's going to be chaotic. And then lots of upsets this past weekend, or games that should have been blowouts that were close because you didn't have teams that were prepared. They didn't have their, with practices being disjointed, I think teams looked really rusty, and that led to some big upsets. And speaking of upsets, the Big 12 looked terrible this past weekend. I mean bad. Kansas lost to Coastal Carolina 38-23. Louisiana goes on the road to Ames, Iowa, beats Iowa State, a ranked Big 12 team, in their own home. Arkansas State beats Kansas State. Houston Baptist almost beat Texas Tech. They lost by 2 points. Have you ever heard of Houston Baptist before this weekend?
No, I have not.
I've never. I know college sports a lot, and I've never heard of Houston Baptist. I don't think Texas Tech heard of Houston Baptist until they almost lost to Houston Baptist. So the Big 12 has a lot of questions. They really need to get some things figured out down there. And my last takeaway, Florida State out of the SEC, not the SEC, the ACC, looks like they're still struggling. Mike Norvell, first-year head coach down there, trying to revitalize a program that's kind of been down for the past couple of years, and they just looked bad. There's so much hope in bringing a new coach after the abysmal performances the past 2 years, but they did not look good in a 16-13 loss at home to a Georgia Tech team. I think they were more talented than. So I think there are a lot of questions that need to be answered. So this next few weeks are going to be huge for Florida State in the city of Tallahassee.
Yeah, totally agree. The Virginia versus Virginia Tech game getting postponed, and now their seasons aren't starting until October.
Yeah.
Huge takeaway. And there was also, talking about upsets, a huge upset by our own Fighting Camels.
Almost. We were so close. We almost had that.
With their national television debut against Georgia Southern.
Yeah. Heisman League Williams balled out in that game. Campbell really looked strong. Mike Minter definitely had those guys ready. And, they now go on the road. And I think they need to find a win going on the road again this Friday on ESPN at 7:30. Not ESPN2, not ESPNU. They are on ESPN, the flagship network. So big game for us. I think Hajj Malik Williams, as he goes, the team will go. I think the offense can keep things going, but when you go on the road, especially when you are an underdog, you need to pack your defense and pack your special teams. We lost this past weekend because we missed an extra point in the first quarter. Every point matters, and you need to have big plays from defense and special teams to keep you in the game, and I think that's going to be crucial for Campbell going on the road to getting a win against Coastal Carolina.
Also talking about another Power 5 conference, the Big Ten, thinking about starting football once again. What are your opinions about that?
Okay, the Big Ten needs to just get things going or not get things going. They're killing me right now because they just keep going back and forth. Yeah, we're going to have a season. We're not going to have a season. We're going to have a season. Figure it out. They had a meeting this past weekend. Some comments coming out of it. Wisconsin Chancellor Rebecca Blank said that, there was discussion that, some Big Ten teams might play, some Big Ten teams not. She said the Big Ten's going to move forward as a whole conference. So if one team wants to play, everybody's going to have to go with them, so it's all in or all out for them. I think it'll be interesting to see. There could be a vote later this week about an official, whether or not it's going to happen or not. But what do you think? Do you think Big Ten football is going to happen this fall?
I do not think it's going to happen. Just like how I stated last week with rosters continuously not having enough players to play games because of COVID, I think it is going to be really rough. But I know that Big Ten presidents, athletic directors are putting together presentations to try to convince.
Yeah, I think they could have it. They need to go about things in the right way. I think there's a good chance of it could happen because there is a lot of pressure from alumni, from the players, from the coaches, from a revenue standpoint to get it going. But I think there are some strong enough holdouts, particularly in the presidents of Michigan and Michigan State, who are disease experts who have too great of concern to let a season happen. So it will definitely be interesting to see later this week. They haven't designated a time or a place where they're going to have this vote, but the fact that it's going to have to be unanimous to have a season, that's going to be a really tough sell to have. But last but not least, next week's going to be here sooner than we know it, and with week 3 coming, what are your games to watch and who do you have winning?
Of course, I'm very excited about Syracuse and Pitt.
Of course you are.
Last week, Syracuse went against UNC, completely blown out of the water, 31-6.
Yep, I believe I had that. I believe you were going against UNC, and I said, no, I think UNC is going to do well at home, and they did. So shout out to the Tar Heels for making me look good on that one.
I was wrong about that one, but I do think Pitt's going to beat Syracuse this week.
Okay.
In 2019, it was a 27-20 win with Pitt winning, and they were away.
Yeah.
Pat Narduzzi is a great coach, and I think there's a lot of talent, and I think they'll be able to take Syracuse.
All right. Yeah, my first game that I'm looking at, 23 App State on the road going to Huntington, West Virginia to play Marshall. Marshall's quarterback, we talked about him the first week. Grant Wells, 307 yards and 4 touchdowns in his opener. That was against Eastern Kentucky. I'm interested to see what he can do against a tougher, stronger defense and what App State has. I think, though, Marshall gets the win at home over a ranked opponent. So Grant Wells, he's my guy, and I'm sticking with him. What about your second game?
My second game is Wake Forest versus NC State.
Okay.
I know Wake Forest lost Newman to the Bulldogs, I believe.
Yes.
So they are down, but I do think they still have the chance to beat NC State. Last year, they creamed NC State 44-10.
Okay, so you got a bounce-back week. Bounce back for Wake Forest and the Demon Deacons after a tough game against Clemson. So, yeah, no, I definitely can see that happening. For me, I went with another ACC matchup. The first top 25 matchup for Power 5 conferences this year, 17 Miami, going on the road against Louisville. For me, I have Louisville winning simply because of their quarterback, Mikhail Cunningham. He looks almost Lamar Jackson-esque in his ability to be a dual threat, more in the red zone. He got a rushing touchdown in their opener against Western Kentucky. He threw for 343 yards. He got 3 touchdowns passing, of course, added that extra rushing one. And, it's Western Kentucky, but that's still a good team. I think he looked impressive. I just haven't seen enough out of Miami in their opener against UAB to make me believe that they can be a top 25 team or that they deserve to be there. So for me, it's going to be Louisville getting the win at home because of their quarterback. Well, that's all the time we have, though, for today, folks. Thank you for joining us on the College Sports Corner. Make sure to leave us a like and share us, and leave a comment about what you think about today's topics. We hope to see you next week, and until then, I'm Isaac Ray.
I'm Caitlyn Edwards.
Thanks for watching.